It's football season.
Are you ready for some football?
That means it's time to fire up the tailgates and the game day parties. And hey, you can still enjoy game day even with plant-based options. And so with that, here are 7 solid plant-based recipes that you can make for your next NFL, college, or even high school game day party. Now let's go ahead and kick things off with the first recipe, but before we do that, here's a quick picture of me from my old college playing days. Check out my fro game. The first recipe is an easy cashew cheese sauce. You can use this as a simple dip, or you can place it on top of some plant-based nachos, as I'm going to show you in a moment. Here are the ingredients. We have our whole roasted cashews, as well as some nutritional yeast, cumin, smoked paprika, fresh garlic, and some chipotle peppers in the adobo sauce. So first we're going to pre-prep our cashew cheese by adding 2.5 cups of cashews into our Vitamix, and then we're going to add some boiling hot water and let it soak for 5 minutes. This will really help to soften up the cashews. Now that our cashews are soaked, we're going to be adding 3/4 cup of nutritional yeast, and then a half tablespoon each of smoked paprika and cumin. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 of a chipotle pepper plus some of the adobo sauce that it's in, 2 cloves of garlic, and then optional garlic powder. I mean, hey, we just like garlic powder, y'all, plus some black pepper. We're going to let this blend for at least a couple minutes. You can taste and adjust the flavorings as you desire. If you want more heat, add more chipotle peppers. If you want more cheesy flavor, add more nutritional yeast, so on and so forth. Keep in mind that if you heat this up on top of the stove, it'll make the sauce get really thick, so you'll need to add some water to make it thin out. Recipe number 2 is these amazing plant-based nachos. So in addition to the cashew cheese that we just showed you, we're also going to be adding to this some seasoned black beans. And then we're going to be making a taco meat using this Beyond Beef. Now you can use whatever meat alternative you'd like, but we're using this for convenience and also to get that good meaty texture. And then we're going to season it using this McCormick taco mix. The X factor of this recipe are these organic white cheddar Doritos, and y'all, these add such a unique flavor element to the nachos. You can obviously use other tortilla chips for this, but we like to use these whenever we have the chance. We're gonna cut and prep all of our veggies. So we have our lettuce, red bell pepper, we're gonna dice those, some red onion, and some cilantro. And you can just store these in containers until it's time to build our nachos at the end. All right, next we're gonna heat up and season 2 cans of black beans in a small pot. We're gonna season these just with some garlic powder and some salt. Always a great combination. And then we're gonna give these a little stir just to get all the flavors integrated. And then we're gonna cover this and let it simmer on low heat for about 10 minutes. And while that's simmering, we're gonna prep our taco meat, adding olive oil and our Beyond Beef to a skillet. Now, even though we're adding the taco seasoning mix, I am gonna add some garlic powder, cumin, and smoked paprika. This is totally optional. It's just something that we like doing before adding the taco mix, just to give it a little added flavor. And we're going to add our taco seasoning mix using the instructions on the packet, mixing it with water, and then we're going to pour it right in. Give it a little stir to let the flavors incorporate, and then you can cover it and let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. And so once that's done, it's time to build your nachos. Now, Adrian and I use a specific technique when we build our nachos where we add the cool ingredients first and then the hotter ingredients on top, just so that everything is nice and warm when we're ready to eat it. And here's the moment we've been waiting for, folks. Oh, look at that cheese. It is flowing, y'all. That is the money shot. And now we're adding our plant-based taco meat, and then, man, check it out, folks. That is the lava effect in action. And we're gonna top it off by making it rain with some good old cilantro. I mean, folks, if your mouth ain't watering right now, I don't know what's wrong with you. And I can tell you that these nachos here will put you into a flavor overload. This next recipe is a plant-based white chicken chili. Nothing screams football season like a good chili recipe. Here's a quick look at the ingredients. We're gonna be using Great Northern beans, white corn, some condensed cauliflower soup, as well as green chilies. We're going to be using this plant-based chicken by Daring, as well as the taco seasoning mix that you saw with the nachos. We're going to add some kale to give it some greens, as well as this plant-based cheese by Dea. And like with most chilies, this is a really easy one-pot recipe. All you have to do is just combine everything into your crock pot or Dutch oven, whatever you're using. We're cooking the chicken first and letting that get nice and done. Then we're going to shred that up with a fork and a knife. After that, we're then going to add our 2 cans of white beans. Then we're going to add our white corn. Make sure to drain both your beans and your corn. And then we're going to add our condensed soup. And then next we're going to add our wet ingredients, starting with about 2 cups of vegetable stock, and then our 1 small can of diced green chilies, and then finally our 1 packet of taco seasoning mix. Now once you've added that, just give everything a good stir and then cover it and let it simmer over low heat for at least about 5 minutes, I would say. And then once that's done, we're now going to add our kale. The kale is totally optional. We like to do this just to throw some extra veggies into the mix. Hey, it never hurts to have a few extra veggies, especially greens, right? And now it's time to serve up our bowls. So we're going to top ours with our plant-based cheese, as well as some sliced green onions. And we like to enjoy ours with some tortilla chips. And there you go. It's as simple as that. You can literally make this in less than 30 minutes. It's a nice dish to help warm you up as you enjoy the game. The next recipe is our signature ginger barbecue tempeh. And y'all, this recipe right here will probably change the way you and your guests think about barbecue. Tempeh is definitely a superfood. It's a great source of fiber, protein, as well as probiotics since it's made from fermented soybeans. And for the barbecue sauce, feel free to use a homemade recipe if you have one. We're going to be using this one out of the bottle here for convenience. And the X factor of this recipe is definitely the ginger. Y'all, if you've never added ginger to barbecue sauce before, prepare to be amazed. It adds such a unique flavor to the sauce. So with our tempeh, what we're going to do is slice these into some thin strips, about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. Feel free to slice them into whatever size you'd like. You can even cut them into different shapes like cubes. And from there, what we're going to do is add these into a bowl, and then we're going to season them, adding a little bit of oil, using some grapeseed oil. You can use whatever kind you'd like. And then we're going to add some garlic powder, some smoked paprika, and a little salt and pepper. This is just going to help to knock out a little bit of that natural tempeh taste because we're going to cook these in the skillet first prior to adding the barbecue sauce. For every seasoning that we're using today, you can add as much or as little as you'd like depending on your flavor preference. And as you can see, I placed the top on the bowl and I'm giving these a good shake just to get all of the seasonings evenly coated around the tempeh. And there we go, all nice and covered and ready to go to the skillet. So we have our skillet ready. We've added some grapeseed oil to that, which is a nice neutral oil with a high smoke point. And then we're going to add our tempeh, cooking them about 1 to 2 minutes on each side over medium heat. You could also cook the tempeh in the oven if you don't want to cook it in a skillet. The goal here is to sear the tempeh and again to knock out some of that tempeh flavor. Some people describe tempeh as having a bit of a nutty flavor. I honestly don't really know how to describe it, but again, cooking it this way definitely helps. Now, once your tempeh is done cooking, you can set it aside while you prepare your sauce. Now, for your ginger barbecue sauce, you can either grate the ginger or you can puree it using a blender. This is what you're going to add into your barbecue sauce. This time I chose to puree it in the blender just to make it a little easier. Once that's ready, we're going to go back to our skillet and then we're going to heat up our barbecue sauce and let it simmer along with the ginger to let the flavors incorporate. Now again here, add as much or as little ginger as you'd like. And what we're going to do is just stir the ginger along with the barbecue sauce over low heat. Feel free to add more sauce or even some water to help thin out the sauce as needed. And now we're going to add our tempeh back into the skillet with the sauce. And then we're just going to move it around to get all of the tempeh nice and covered with the barbecue sauce. I mean, just looking at it makes me hungry all over again. You wouldn't even know or think that it was plant-based because of the fact that it has that barbecue sauce. Now, if you show up to the tailgate with this, be prepared for people to ask you for the recipe. I'm just saying. The next recipe is an easy, delicious guacamole recipe. I feel like you can never go wrong with a good guac for a football game, and this one only takes 10 minutes to make. Doesn't require many ingredients like most guacs. Just start off with your avocados. You'll slice those in half. Make sure that they look nice and good, and if they don't, just scoop out any bad parts you see. Hey, not every avocado is perfect. For this one, we're going to finely dice some red onion. And next we're going to chop up some cilantro. As you can see, I'm using this nifty tool that we got. It allows you to easily pull the leaves off of different types of greens. We'll leave a link to it down in the description below. We're also going to slice our lime in half and then remove the pits from the avocados. And next we're going to scoop the avocados into a bowl. And then we're going to squeeze the juice from half of the lime, or about 1 tablespoon. Then we're going to mix the avocado around a bit to get some of that lime juice spread. And then I typically like to use a potato masher when making guac. You can use a fork or a mortar and pestle as well. Next we're adding some salt and pepper and garlic powder to taste. And then we're adding in our chopped cilantro and our onions and just giving that a good mix. And once it's ready, you can either eat it right away or let it chill in the refrigerator till it's time for the game. Enjoy with your chips of choice, and then voila. So good and so easy to make. The next recipe is the Sourdough Bruschetta Pizzas. And again, another quick and easy option you can make in under 30 minutes. We start off by using some sourdough bread, and then we're going to saute some sliced baby bella mushrooms along with some sliced onion and kale. We'll also use some plant-based mozzarella and some balsamic glaze at the end. And here are the ingredients we're going to use for our sauteed mushroom mix. We like to call this the mushroom trifecta because this will give everything a nice smoky umami flavor. So to start off, we're going to saute our red onions and mushrooms and some olive oil in a skillet over medium heat and let it cook for at least a few minutes until everything starts to wilt down a bit. Next, we're going to add about a tablespoon of liquid aminos and Worcestershire, as well as about half of a teaspoon of liquid smoke. And let this continue to saute until most of the liquid evaporates. Next, we're going to add in our kale and mix it all together with everything until the kale wilts. And once that's done, we're going to let it sit covered until it's time for us to build our pizzas. Now we're going to go ahead and slice our sourdough. Feel free to slice them into your size of preference. We sliced ours into about 1/4 of an inch thick pieces or so. Next, it's time to build the pizzas. For this, we're using a simple olive oil and garlic powder base. As you can see, I'm just simply rubbing the olive oil, spreading it around each slice of the bread, and then adding a little bit of garlic powder. After that, we'll add a small handful of the plant-based cheese, and then we're going to place this into the oven at 350 for about 10 to 12 minutes or until the cheese is totally melted. Once that's done, we're going to add our mushroom, onion, and kale topping to each slice. Feel free to add any additional toppings. As you can see here, we're adding some pine nuts that we had on hand. And then the big finisher here, which we highly recommend, is this balsamic glaze. It just really brings everything together. And there it is, another nice balance of what we like to call hearty but healthy. And then finally, we have our Football Field Chipotle Salad. This is the epitome of football food art. Has so many different ingredients, and as you can see, my wife right there was very excited about this. To make this, you're first going to chop up some lettuce. Now we want to make sure that this is chopped really well and rinse as needed because this is going to be our turf for the bowl. We want to have a nice turf. Next up, we're going to chop our red onion, and you want to dice this nice and well. All right, after the red onion, we're going to chop our red bell pepper. Similar to the red onion, these will be part of our confetti at the end. Next up is our yellow bell pepper, and this is going to be our uprights for the field. And it'll look really cool at the end. Now, if you notice, the quarterback is really focusing on his accuracy with his cutting. And that's really going to pay off well in the end.
That's it, baby.
All right, now chopping up our second upright. There we go, we got 2 uprights. Gonna use the rest of the yellow bell pepper, dice that up because we'll use that for confetti as well. Now next, we're going to drain and rinse our black beans. All right, now we're gonna make our sweet chipotle vinaigrette dressing that we are going to pour on to the salad at the end. So we're gonna take some grapeseed oil, add about a cup of that, followed by some apple cider vinegar, and then we're gonna add 2 chipotle peppers with some adobo sauce. If you want it hotter, you can easily add more chipotle peppers. Then we'll add our clove of garlic and some oregano and black pepper. And it looks like the quarterback's calling an audible at the line of scrimmage by adding some garlic powder, as well as a little bit of cumin, and then some smoked paprika. We're finishing this off with some agave, and then a little bit of water just to help thin it out some. Blend together. And then time for a taste test. It's got the consistency, but it needs a little bit more of that adobo sauce, and we're gonna add a little bit more agave. Oh yeah, this time that's it. First down, we can move the chains. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and build our salad bowl. Go ahead and add your lettuce, spreading it out nice and evenly. And then next we're going to add our chips. Now we're using 2 chip options. We're using the white cheddar organic Doritos as well as the white cheddar popcorners. All right, now we're going to stack these around the bowl just like you see here. You can think of this as kind of like the stands. All right, next we're going to add our black beans. We're going to mix those up with some sea salt and some garlic powder just so that they aren't plain Jane. And now we're going to start to build our black bean football in the middle of the field. Adding the black beans, and now we're shaping it out. It's all about technique here. All right, next we're going to add our first dressing, which is this plant-based Ranch by Marie's. We're going to use this to outline our football and also add the other design elements, including the stripes as well as the laces. Gotta have the laces. Now it's time to add our goal posts, aka uprights. As you can see, they both fit in nicely. All right, now it's confetti time. Next, we got our vegan cheeses. For this, we're using these shredded cheeses by BioLife. Everything in this recipe is vegan minus the chips. You can make this fully vegan just by doing some plain tortilla chips, or you don't have to make this vegan at all. You can use animal products, totally up to you. Next, adding our red onions and then our red bell pepper. It's really starting to come together. Then we're adding our yellow bell pepper. And you can't have a bowl like this without some good old cilantro, so we're adding that as well. And then finally, some roasted pumpkin seeds, aka pepitas. All right, so now we're gonna add our avocado. Now we're using these to make the tunnels that the players run out of, as you can see here. And there you have it, folks.
That's the way to go, butter bean.
Now it's time for a good victory lap using our honey chipotle dressing. As you can see, he's really soaking up this victory. He's getting it everywhere, all around. This is definitely one of those recipes that's perfect for a special game day occasion. You'll be sure to impress all of your family and friends with this one. Now let us know what you all think of these recipes in the comments below. And in the meantime, if you want to check out our chickpea pasta salad meal prep recipe, then click on this video that you see here in the top right and we'll see you over there. Enjoy the game.